There is a phenomenal amount of hype about all flash storage at the moment. It's a little bit frustrating from my side, because I've worked in storage for, God forbid, 27 years now, a long time, and I've seen lots of tools in the storage industry come and go. And flash is exactly that. It's just another tool set that we can use to help storage problems. So when I see people talking about one particular tool set being the answer to life, the universe and everything, I get both amused and frustrated, because it's usually a combination of different tools to solve problems. And the real trick in the storage industry is finding the most appropriate tool to solve the problem. What I mean by the difference between a solution and a tool is, let's take, for example, VDI as a workload, which is a big growing requirement these days. Now, you can solve that by throwing flash at it. In a lot of cases, it's overkill. What you're trying to do with VDI is smooth out the bumps. So a good analogy is a bit like using a Ferrari to go to the shops. You may sometimes want to get there ridiculously quickly, but it's not the most efficient tool to use. What you probably want to use is a sensible sized family car that can go fast when it needs to, but can carry a lot of shopping. So it'd be a balanced workload. The trick in storage has often been people say things like hard disks are too slow, so I can't use them for VDI. Well, first of all, there's different implementations of hard disks, there's different types of hard disks, don't tar them all with the same brush. And then the other thing is, okay, well, if I occasionally need flash, why don't I be a bit clever about it and use a hard disk array with some flash, use the flash when I want to go fast, don't use it when I don't want to go fast, and also different media types. If I want to do a sequential workload, use hard disks. If I want to do a random workload, use flash. The trick has always been how to know which tool to use when, and how software can predict when that's going to happen and use the right appropriate tool for the job. I think flash is popular at the moment partly because it's the new kid on the block thing. There's always tools that people think, well, it's the new technology, I should be using it. I think the problem of that is that people don't necessarily talk about the downside of flash. And it does have its complications. There are issues with flash that you need to overcome. But at the same time, there's a lot of venture capital money going into the industry. There's a lot of hype, a lot of marketing noise, where people talk about marketing buzzwords and don't necessarily talk sensibly. I think we're starting to see the change on that. If we talk about the hype cycle, we're definitely over, the peak of inflated expectations, and we're coming down into that trough of disillusionment, as it's called now. I think we're in between the two. I think people are starting to realise there's upsides and downsides to flash, and that it's a tool rather than a solution. But certainly we need to cut through a lot of this marketing noise, because there's some crazy things being bandied around in the industry at the moment, which are just not good for any of us. Hybrid storage is predominantly used as a term when we're talking about a combination of flash and hard disk drives. The problem is that term has been overused, and it can mean anything from ranging from having the same products in the box, so having some flash and having some hard disks, where people have got to manually tier between the two, right up to what XIO do, which is to actually look at the IO stream and in real time move data between hard disk and flash. The problem is there's so many different implementations of hybrid storage that it can mean different things to different people, and it is really important for both customers and resellers to understand those differences and look at the tools that move data between the two media. Hard disk drives are far from dead. It's a bit like the argument that's been running around the industry for years that tape's dead. There's many tools out there that we can use to solve storage problems, as I mentioned before, be that hard disk, flash, tape, or optical disk, or whatever mechanism. The trick to do is to find out what are the requirements and then use the most appropriate tool to solve the problem. So I talk a lot about solutions in storage rather than tools, and just getting that balance right.